Morning, folks. Hope you're all well. My voice has recovered. I was going to do a prediction video earlier in the week, but my voice was gone. I don't know whether it was a cold, or hay fever, or whatever. But it seems to be right now. It's still a bit croaky, but a lot better than it was. So straight to it. I watched the Anthony Joshua Robert Helenius fight last night, and I'm so glad it wasn't pay-per-view because it was absolute garbage. The undercard especially was garbage. Now, I didn't watch all the fights. I didn't watch the Campbell Hatton or anything like that, but from what I've heard, other people say it wasn't particularly inspiring viewing. I switched on about the time for the Filip Hrgović Dempsey McKean fight. Hrgović won TKO in the final round. A lot of people moaned about the stoppage. I personally didn't have a problem with it because he was done in, I think. Yeah, that right hand sent him into the ropes, and I think it was only a matter of time before he got seriously hurt. And Hrgović was winning anyway. The reason I say it was garbage was it was just a lot of holding and blowing and hugging, and Dempsey McKean didn't seem to see. Yeah, bear in mind this guy was being touted as a Tyson Fury opponent earlier in the year. And he just seemed totally out of his depth. And I know Hrgović has had a layoff. Don't get me wrong, he's not been in the ring for nearly a year since that. But he looked awful in that fight where he scraped through against Zhilei Zhang. But last August on the undercard of Joshua Usyk 2. So I don't know. Cut him a little bit of slack, I suppose, because obviously he's been out of the ring. There's a bit of ring rust. But seeing he's now the IBF #1 contender for Mr. Usyk, I can't see anything in that fight that Usyk would worry about. If Usyk fights him, presuming that Usyk gets through Daniel Dubois in a couple of weeks, which he probably will, in my opinion, I can't, and he'll probably fight Hrgović. I can't see Hrgović posing him any problems, not from that fight. He was landing that straight right at will, and I thought, oh, well, he'll probably get him out of here soon. And then I thought it was just going to go to a decision in the end because there was a lot of holding, a lot of hugging, and a lot of sloppy work. Fucking hell. And then he got him, right, that was fine. And obviously the co-main event, or the co-feature, I suppose, if you will, Derek Chisora against Gerald Washington. Derek Chisora took a unanimous decision after 10. Derek Chisora, been saying it for the past couple of years, needs to retire. He has no business being in a boxing ring, in my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of Derek fanboys out there who get so overexcited and pants whenever he gets in the fucking ring. The wind's blowing, it's knocking one of the things on the fence, if you can hear that clanging. But it was a typical Derek Chisora of the last couple of years' performance. He was both men, and this isn't just a criticism of Derek Chisora, there's Gerald Washington as well. Bearing in mind the combined age of both men was 80, that puts it in perspective a little bit. So they were both absolutely worn out after 3 rounds. They were both huffing and puffing and blowing like a couple of steam trains. It was a typical Derek Chisora performance. Chugging forward, getting punched in the face, landing a few punches himself. Don't get me wrong, he won. He deserved to win. That wasn't up for debate. And I was bored shitless. I was bored to tears. And my cousin, he's in Butlins at the moment, on holiday with his family, he was watching it in the bar there, and he sent me a message saying, "Are you still awake watching this shit?" And I said, "Just about." Derek Chisora needs to jack it in. He's had a fantastic career. He really has. He's had a wonderful career. A better career than most boxers at his level. Because to me, he was never world level. I know he challenged for a world title twice, but he wasn't world level. He needs to stop. So that was it. I found it embarrassing and hard to watch. A bit like his previous fight against Chisora, against Fury, he shouldn't have been in there when he got he's a walking punch bag. He was taking punches in that fight against Washington last night he shouldn't take. If Washington was a harder puncher, he could have had Chisora out of there a couple of times. So I wasn't too impressed with either of them, to be honest. They both passed it. I mean, Washington's well past it. He's been knocked out a few times. So I wasn't too keen on that at all, really. And then the main event, Anthony Joshua, Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius, who came in at less than a week's notice and actually fought last Saturday. I was entertained by it. It was worth watching. As a heavyweight title fight. Sorry, you can tell I haven't had a lot of sleep. I'm talking a lot of bollocks. Heavyweight fight. It was worth watching. Helenius came to fight, and he did very well. I mean, he was landing his jab quite nicely. He worked Joshua's body a few times. I found Joshua a bit gun shy at times, which he has been since he was beaten by Ruiz. Really, he managed to puff up Joshua's eye and bloodied his nose a little bit. I mean, Joshua was, it wasn't like he was getting battered and dominated at all. And then obviously by the 7th round, he landed that massive right hand, bang, straight on the fucking chin. Helenius was down and out. Yeah, that sort of came. I wasn't expecting it. I after the first sort of 4 or 5 rounds, I kind of thought, oh, this is going to be another 12-round decision like the Franklin fight. And I wasn't particularly impressed, and I thought, oh God, can I? I was gonna, if it had gone past 7 or 8 rounds, I was going to go to bed because I was getting fed up by that point. I just wanted it over because I think because of the sour taste of watching the Hrgovic fight and the Chisora fight, I was kind of fed up really. There's only so much boring, hugging, heavyweight action you can take really, no matter how big a boxing fan you are. But then when he landed that right, I was like, holy shit, man, that's fucking fantastic. So, right on the point of the chin, Helenius was out, and that was it, done. The referee didn't even bother counting, just fucking, that's it, it's fucking finished. But the funny thing is, people are moaning, I saw people online whinging and fucking whining that he was celebrating, the way he celebrated, he jumped out of the ring, that cunt, he fucks about doing his fucking bike every weekend. Sorry about that, folks. He just sits in his garage fucking revving his bike all weekend, and it drives me fucking insane. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, people were moaning and griping about him jumping out of the ring, and, I didn't have a problem with it. All boxers do it. It's a blood sport, for fuck's sake. It's not a gentle, it's not pillow fighting, as Ricky Hatton used to say back in the day. It's not a fucking tickling contest. Oh, it was so disrespectful. Fuck me, most fighters do that. Every time Crawford dropped Spence last week, he was fucking gyrating and shouting at fucking people in the crowd and stuff. And no one complained. So, Anthony Joshua does it, suddenly, oh, he's a disrespectful prick, and oh, he shouldn't have done it. Fuck off. No, that's my dog barking. See him? Yeah. Because that other prick dog a couple of doors away is going to start barking in a minute. So I'm going to have to wrap this video up in a sec. All I'll say is, if they fight, if Joshua does pursue the Wilder fight next, he will get fucking knocked out. The way he fought last night, he was too gun shy, he was too tentative, he took too many jabs and whatnot, in my opinion. He will get fucking iced within a couple of rounds by Wilder, just purely on the power punch. He could outbox, in an alternate universe, he could outbox Wilder, in my opinion. He could quite happily outbox him, but not now. He's too gun shy. He can't take a punch, in my opinion. He just can't. And from somebody like Wilder, who's a murderous puncher, I'd give it 2 or 3 rounds if he fought like that, really. I don't give him much hope in hell, personally. I think he's past it. I think mentally he's not what he once was. It's hard to judge. I'm trying not to be too harsh on Anthony Joshua because he was in a difficult position because he was preparing for Dillian White. until a week ago, and then all of a sudden Robert Helenius comes in, who's a totally different fighter to White. So yeah, I did feel sorry for him in that regard. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, no one was going to be happy with whatever happened. If he'd have wiped Helenius out in a round, everyone would be fucking moaning. Oh well, he was a bum. He shouldn't. But then because it went more than a few rounds, everyone was still fucking moaning. Oh, he's a bum. So fuck knows. He was in a lose-lose situation in that fight, in my opinion. So obviously the end game at the moment seems to be Wilder. Personally, I wouldn't put him in with Wilder. I don't really know what I'd do with Joshua, to be honest. A lot of people were crying out for him to retire. I don't think necessarily he needs to retire. I just don't think he's as good as he thinks he is and he once was. So we'll see. Also, to take the sour taste of that shitty undercard out of my mouth, this morning I watched the Emmanuel Navarrete Oscar Valdez fight for the WBO Super-Featherweight title. And it was a good entertaining scrap. I found it quite interesting. The commentary team, who are awful, all commentators at the moment are terrible. It doesn't matter what channel they're on or what country they're in, they all seem to be god awful. And Oscar Valdez, I only gave him 2 rounds. His face was a fucking mess. His right eye was completely shut by the end of it. Navarrete, he did break his hand, or he hurt his hand, it appeared, at some point in the fight. But he was just catching Valdez at will. Every time Valdez came in, he was just, it wasn't anything necessarily hurtful, but it was just combinations of, it was landing. And Valdez was just going for broke, firing fucking Hail Mary punches. Some of them landed, but they never seemed to hurt Navarrete. That was the thing. Nothing he did was troubling Navarrete. Whereas, Navarrete just stayed behind the jab, left hook, left uppercuts. He was using the right hand quite often earlier on in the fight, but then he did indicate to his corner that there was something wrong with it. I don't think he broke it. It was broken necessarily because he was using it after the fight when he had the gloves off, when he was being interviewed, and he had Morales and Barrera stood there with him. He was sort of gesticulating with it and moving it around and putting a jacket on with it and things like that. So I don't think it was broken, but he's probably injured it somehow. And he was indicating that it was hurt and there was a problem there to his corner. So Valdez, I mean, people were moaning. I've seen people online moaning this morning about all the scorecards were far too wide. I had it 118-110. I gave Valdez 2 rounds. Everything else went to Navarrete from what I saw, so I ain't got a problem with it. Teddy Atlas, I see him, he hasn't got a problem with it, and he's usually very, very critical of the judges, so, it is what it is. I mean, the right man won, doesn't matter which way you look at it, whether you think it was a close fight or not. The commentators on Sky, I was watching, we were getting the American feed for top rank, Christina Poncher and Jamel Herring, I believe. And they just kept, it's such a close fight, it's such a close fight. It fucking wasn't. It was very one-sided after a while. I mean, Valdez was in it and he was trying, don't get me wrong, but, all the success, I mean, you had to look at the faces at the end of it. I mean, Valdez's face was a fucking mess. So, there you go. So, Emmanuel Navarrete retains his WBO Super-Featherweight title. I don't know how Valdez goes from here, really. It might be the end of the line for him, but we'll see. Right, that's enough out of me. I'll let you go. Hope you enjoy your week. Take care, folks.